So with that being said, after the interview with Shieldhouse ended, as the Browns were flying back, Kay Cabot, friend of the show, tweeted out that one league source tells me tonight that defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz seems to be gaining momentum in the Browns head coach search. Stay tuned. Other national reporters echoed what Mary Kay said, leading us to believe that there is a chance that if Shieldhouse were not to take the Browns job, it could be a Jim Schwartz promotion from DC to head coach. Bull, you have been very anti-promotion for Jim Schwartz to become the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns. I know you've laid out your case, but I'll let you start again because you kind of led us down that path a second ago. Yeah. How hard would it be for this fan base to accept a 2.5, 3 week long search only to end up by promoting the guy who is already in your building?
No,
how would the fans, do you think, take that?
Isn't it already over 3 weeks?
I guess 3 weeks and a day now. Yeah, it's 3 weeks and a day.
So if you would hire Jim Schwartz that week, then maybe you could have sold it. But and ultimately, it doesn't matter if the fan base or I believe it's the right hire. We're all going to give him a chance. And there's 40% of our fan base that will give the Browns benefit of the doubt on everything, no matter how many times, they're like Charlie Brown with the football when Lucy's holding the football. 40% of our fans will keep trying to think they're going to kick that football every time, and they're going to keep missing and falling down. That's just the way it goes. That's the same in most fan bases. There's no way they know Jim Schwartz better than all these candidates. He's been working for them for 3 years. They know him inside and out. They've interviewed him twice. If the Browns wanted Jim Schwartz to be their coach, if he was their first choice, hell, if he was their second or even third choice, he would have been hired by now. Why would you have waited for Nate Shieldhouse, which they clearly did, if Jim Schwartz was the guy? I love the thing that Mary Kay said, momentum is building. What momentum? Like, what has he done? What has Jim Schwartz done or said in the last few days? Momentum's building because other people are either turning it down or maybe they met Shieldhouse and didn't like him. I guess that's possible too.
Can I give you a theory, Bull? I put this in the group chat last night, but my gut tells me that Andrew Berry ran a search process that identified a lot of young offensive-minded candidates. Yeah. And at the end of season presser, where Jimmy Haslam spoke after firing Kevin Stefanski, he was asked specifically about keeping Jim Schwartz on the staff. And he said, quote, to that question, absolutely, Schwartz is a great coach. Is there a scenario where this is Andrew Berry running a search process that was leading them down the road to a young offensive-minded head coach, and Jimmy Haslam now overstepping, or I guess rightfully stepping as the owner of the team and saying, you know what? Nah, Jim Schwartz is my guy. That's who we're going to hire.
100% it could be that. There's no way Jim Schwartz is Andrew Berry's choice. 0%. And nobody could convince me otherwise. You're being disingenuous if you think Mr. Analytics, his first choice is Jim Schwartz. I mean,
Bull, the interesting thing about the whole thing is this. This is why AB should have been fired. Yes. Because there is no better way to say that y'all are terrible than guys pulling out of interviews saying, I'm good on the job. Like, you can't get no to the guys that you want because your roster is that bad. Well, then you got to look at the person that made the roster that bad. Like, that to me, I don't understand how this is even a thing right now. The job looks so bad that people will turn down the opportunity to even continue to be in the race. They will go take OC jobs rather than do this. Like that says a lot to me. Like, I don't care what nobody say. Like, the roster must really look that bad that guys would rather stay OCs than an opportunity to be a head coach.
By the way, in yesterday's show, when I said how embarrassing it was that 30-year-old Grant Udinsky turned them down, a lot of people were like, Bull, you're being ridiculous. The only reason he's turning them down is because he knows he's not getting the job because they're giving it to Nate Shieldhouse. Oh, really? Is that what happened? If that was such a no-brainer and he knew it, then why did Nate Shieldhouse not get the job already? So, I mean, this is it, again, when it's all said and done, maybe they end up with the right coach. Frankly, at this point, if Nate Shieldhouse is not interested, I'd expand the search. I'd start looking at other guys. I'd talk to Josh McCown. I'd talk to other people. I would expand, not just settle for Jim Schwartz because, well, maybe he's safe or or Jimmy thinks, I can't lose him. You can't lose him. Or the defense can't. The defense is going to completely fall apart if he leaves.
You know what's so funny about this? What's funny about this whole thing is that at the beginning of all of this, you specifically was like, I want the next coach to be a leader of men.
Yeah.
And to watch you turn full circle. First it was, I don't want Jim Schwartz. Now, I don't want the guy. No. It went from Jim Schwartz to now I don't want the 30-year-old guy because he's too young. Heck, Myles Garrett is older than him. Then it went to, well, I guess I could go for you. I could go for the Shield House. He's 35. He got some experience. Now we get all the way back to the leader of men.
Hey, you know what? I still want a leader of men, but I want someone with some juice. That's a leader of men.
You don't think he got juice on that? Would you admit that he has the biggest impact on that roster since in the whole 6 years of Kevin Stefanski being head coach?
Yeah, it didn't help win any games.
They went to the playoffs. What are you talking about?
Oh, they went to the playoffs with Joe Woods.
Jay, you've been the strongest proponent of Jim Schwartz this whole time. How do you look at this situation now where it feels like it's coming down to potentially the guy who was already in the building?
Listen, Mary Kay said he's gaining steam. Well, not with G. Bush. I mean, I done already told you. Man, maybe it's the Duke of knee-jerk stuff, man. I don't know, man. Maybe people don't be taking me serious enough, man. I said it was 60-40. When the search started, I said 60-40, and I laid out the reasoning as to why. We look at some of these names, and I think sometimes when you get to a point where you go through this search, it's human nature that you want a new shiny toy. You want something new. You want something fresh. You imagine in your mind what this coach can do with the offense. You look at where he's at, and you extrapolate and you project. Okay, this is what, and then you formulate this idea of what it's going to be like when we get in a relationship with this new coach. Well, the reality of the situation is that these head coaches, all of them have an opportunity to go do other things. I think one of the biggest part of this plan, and one of the biggest things why the Browns seem to not be getting certain things and guys are getting turned down, is because you have to look at this as a perfect storm, so to speak. When has the Pittsburgh Steelers job ever come open? Not very often. When has the Bills job with a quarterback that's expected to go to the Super Bowl? That comes open in the last week of the process. That doesn't happen. The Baltimore Ravens, they move on from a guy in Harbaugh who's a Hall of Fame coach. Mike Tomlin steps down. He's a Hall of Fame coach. Not to mention that you still had a bunch of teams ahead of you in terms of the Raiders. Now, look, the Raiders got the number one pick. Ain't nobody jumping up and down to go get that job either. So, the thoughts about Mendoza, if Mendoza is the greatest, nobody's talking about that job at all. It's because the market is flooded with really good opportunities and not enough coaches to go around to fill those opportunities. So when you're a guy who was like, oh, well, I was expecting to go interview for the Cardinals, but now the Bills call you, or now, hey, the Ravens may be interested. Hey, you're going to look around and do your thing. When it comes to Jim Schwartz, I've always said it. Jim Schwartz, if you go ask those people that's in the locker room, right? You ask the defense, what do they think of Jim Schwartz? And they'll tell you, I think he should get an opportunity. When you look at Myles Garrett, he had the best year of his career under Jim Schwartz. He should get an opportunity, right? We can say, well, he was part of a team that wasn't no good. Jim Schwartz don't call offensive plays. Jim Schwartz don't coach quarterbacks up, and Jim Schwartz does not control the playbook. Jim Schwartz is a subordinate, and he's going to do what he's told, and he did a really good job of doing what he was told and getting the defense to be to a certain place. And in terms of you people saying it's embarrassing because you get down to this point and there's no new guy or there's no candidate that you want, well, look, again, I don't understand why we feel like we get extra credit points for picking the coach first. You don't get that. It's all about who's the best fit of what the guys are left. If Shieldhouse is going to go somewhere else, if Udinski is going to go somewhere else, you can't sit here and cry and act like as your daughter. They
heard no mind.
So cute.
She's like, yeah, I'm on TV. If you can't cry and be like, oh, well, it's down to Schwartz. They've already told you Schwartz was already going to be a guy in contention. If the other two drop out, like I said it was Udinski, Shieldhouse, and Schwartz.
But
at the time, 60-40, I was like, I wouldn't care if they got either three of them. I was like, but to me, I think they moving towards Jim Schwartz, and I've been consistent on that from the beginning.
You can't blame them. You can't blame fans for being disappointed if Jim Schwartz is the coach.
I didn't say they can be disappointed. Some people may wanted a different name. I get it.
Do you look at the fact that if you look at the Super Bowl, they both feature defensive-minded head coaches? Does that make you feel better about it?
Not necessarily. What makes me feel good about it is the fact that the people that are in the locker room, they are familiar with him, and that he's going to have buy-in, and I think he's going to hold them accountable. So those are the two things that I wanted. I wanted accountability. I wanted a different personality type, and I also wanted somebody to come in and say, "We're not playing games with y'all." And Jim Schwartz is a guy that I feel is going to do that, and to me, that's what makes me feel confidently about it. Now, the offensive coordinator position, that's a whole nother thing. Because now, if you get to him, now here's the thing you're going to have a hard time selling people on, is him and Todd Monken.